Sparkling wine in the form of champagne has always been very popular with flyers, and what we've noticed over the last certainly 4 to 5 years is that the English sparkling wine and the appellation that is English sparkling wine and the fact that it comes from our home country is really, really popular amongst our customers, and it tastes great in the air as well. How I found Hattingley Valley in the first place is a really nice story. I visited the London Festival Taste of London in Regent's Park last summer, and I stumbled across this very vibrant, very energetic, very fun stand in the middle of the festival, and I ventured over and met the Hattingley team, who were just wonderful and let me taste the cuvées, and we had a lot of fun, and I met Emma the winemaker and was able to talk about the history and find out a bit more about the wonderful story that is Hattingley Valley, and based in Hampshire in England. And before we know it, Hattingley Valley are one of our centenary partners, best of British, great fun, and looking forward to a wonderful partnership.
I'd always had an interest in wine, not, I have to say, in many respects, a great deal more than what you might call an enthusiastic amateur, with everything that implies. About 10 or 12 years before I retired, we'd acquired some farmland in Hampshire, and in 2008 we planted our first vineyard. We've ended up as one of the largest wineries in England. I wouldn't say by accident, but it certainly wasn't what I expected at the beginning.
You can tell the minute that you come to the winery and meet with the team at Hattingley, especially with Emma, the winemaker. She has such love and investment in the brand that really comes out and plays out in the way that she puts her blend recipes together and the way that she makes the wine. It is really made with love.
I'm looking for an elegance, a fine sort of pure varietal character, but not too blousy.
It's incredible you detect the flavours of what you'd expect from Pinot Noir,
yeah,
but yet it's white in the glass.
Really rich fruit character to burst through, to withstand the altitude.
Yeah, when we're selecting the wines that result and end up on the wine list on board the flights, we very much look for that forward fruit flavour, the fruit coming through, the fruit cutting through the acid, but the acid being enough so that it can stand out.
So I was working as a wine waiter in this restaurant, and they had a special anniversary dinner. One of the wines that I was serving was Krug 1979 from a double magnum, and the owner of the restaurant said to me, if there's anything left at the end, you can try it. So of course I made sure there was a little bit left at the bottom, tried it, and that wine just blew me away. I can still taste it today, and that's what really got me interested in wine. As it turned out, I became one of the first ever graduates in the UK with a full BSc in viticulture and enology. I decided to stay and set up a consultancy and a small laboratory to run analysis for wineries and vineyards in the UK. I met Simon Robinson, and he asked me if I'd be able to build him a winery. I said yes, not having ever done that before, but pretty cocky, thinking that I had the ability and the knowledge to do it.
And luckily, the site that we'd found here was a very flexible site. It was originally a bunch of old chicken sheds with industrial use.
He said, well, what do I need to do to build to have a decent winery? I said, you've got to flatten the whole site and we'll start again. And so we did.
It's really exciting for me personally to be able to build a business from scratch, particularly one that's making a new, really high quality British product.
To be fair to Simon, he never said no to me. Anything I needed or wanted for the winery, he said yes. So we have the Concorde press, the Rolls Royce of sparkling wine presses, numerous tanks, barrels, everything we could possibly want as winemakers. We have in the winery, thanks to Simon's generosity. The biggest problem is just dealing with the workload. Hundreds of thousands of bottles. Suddenly Gareth is selling too much wine and we can't keep up with him.
My dad was in the wine trade since I can remember. We used to have a big shed full of wine, and the irony is my dad never drank wine at home, and we used to clean it out when we were older, so he used to get annoyed that we drank all of his wine. I decided to go to university and I studied hospitality, and we'd actually been out to Argentina on a holiday, and I thought, yeah, I'd really love to work in the wine trade, and I sort of had this fairly naive dream that I'd go around the world selling English wine. And then it turns out it's exactly what I do.
I've always seen export as a really important part of our trade here. It is making sure that we have the greatest possible demand for our products, widening our consumer base, selling our wines to the wider global public.
Actually, when I joined, we weren't really selling much, probably in the sort of 10,000 bottles a year. And we didn't really know what we were doing, we were just, chancing it really. And now we're one of the leading exporters of English sparkling wine. Obviously, we've got this fantastic deal with British Airways. So now that you've done the blend from 2018, I think it's a great time to try the 2015 wine that's going to go on board British Airways this summer.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Gareth. This is a really special moment because thinking about the journey that we've come on, when we were scouring the country to find the best of British brands to work in partnership with British Airways, this is now made, blended, bottled with this wonderful label, and it's one of our British Airways centenary editions that's going to be available to customers from this summer. So the exciting thing for 2019, and it being British Airways' 100th birthday, is that we now have a partnership with Hattingley Valley. And this has been made possible because we were offered a very special wine that was blended and made in 2015, but Hattingley invited us to try this wine before it hit the marketplace, and we loved it so much that we were able to buy the whole wine exclusively for our customers at British Airways. And blended in our centenary year as well. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
There's a lot of things I like about Hattingley, actually. Firstly, Simon Robinson, the owner, I think is a lovely man, a really kind soul. He seemed like he was in it for the right reasons. He's very supportive of the industry. He pays for a lot of the staff to go and study at Plumpton and travel abroad to, broaden their experience. He's not in it just to make a load of cash.
Supporting staff and their professional development in particular is clearly a very important thing for the staff themselves. Youngsters want to have a diversity of experience. They want to see what other people do. They want to go through the winery and the vineyards and understand what each part of it. But there's also an element that, if we're not going to do it, who is going to help them to?
In 100 years, I would like to see Hattingley still thriving, I hope. And we got a formula, we have a recipe. I would love to see that continue without it changing too much over the years, allowing for innovation and climate change.
Where I'd like us to be is a household name in the UK, and I'd just like people to have a nice feeling when they think about Hattingley and see it as something that is part of Britain. I would want people to buy our wines for when they're, celebrating, whatever it may be, and actually feel really connected to us as a winery.
I would love the business in 100 years' time to be regarded as one of the finest British brands, really, in the UK, serving the finest quality wines and regarded as something that I can look down on and be justly proud of.
Anyone that looks after their products in that way really has a kind of connection to us as British Airways as a brand, because that's what we do. We look after what we do, which is fly people around the world, and we look for other brand partners that very much share the same values as us.
For our centenary, of course, it will then be the bicentenary of British Airways, so hopefully whoever's running BA and whoever's running Hattingley by then will talk to each other and remember that, 100 years ago we did that.